And today's video is all about how logos should evolve. Now, your business is just like a living and breathing person. Over time, it changes. Products change, services change, customers' requirements change, and your logo is a visual representation of your company. It allows us, the customer, to see just how much you're evolving without actually having to look into everything too much. To admit, that looks pretty awesome, and our brands need to evolve pretty much in the same way. So I should be doing the same thing with my logo, and slowly but surely I actually have been. But can I show you the same way I showed with Coca-Cola? No, I can't. And the reason why I can't is because I did not keep a record of how my logo evolved. Not because it's not important, but because I didn't think the logo is important. I actually put this logo together as a stopgap. You see, originally the brand was wickedwebdesigner.com because at that specific moment in time, I was the brand. I went back to freelance and work after the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, and I just needed something to represent the three of us, me, myself, and I. However, about a decade later, in 2015, when I'd reached my 40s, all of a sudden, wicked web designer, surfboard, the type of image you would have in your late 20s, early 30s if you're lucky, didn't make any sense anymore. So I did pretty much what most people do once they actually have a brand. Look at LG International. Does anybody know what LG stands for? And no, it doesn't mean life's good. HP, okay, if you're my age, you'll know it's Hewlett & Packard. IBM, do you remember what IBM stands for? So that's pretty much what I did. I went from Wicked Web Designer to WWD, from WWD when it was too difficult to find to WWD 24/7, put together the original logo, and then when I found out it looked too similar to someone else's, I changed it again, but still kept the original look and feel. Then a year later we put the line on it, a year later we put the curves, and recently when I was looking at social networks, I made sure that the logo works in a circle, in a square, and in its entirety. And of course, something else that we tend to forget these days, especially when most of our advertising is on the internet, you got to make sure your logo still looks good in black and white. So yeah, I pretty much ended up spending an entire week where I had to try and remember what happened. Now this was quite weird because I thought that I did the logo in 2017 because I knew that was when the decade was coming to an end, and I knew that I was on my travels to Uzbekistan to look at the possibility of opening a business there. If you want to find out about Uzbekistan, there's a link here or in the description. So I knew the logo was being put together round about then. What I didn't realize was that I'd actually done it in 2015 because that was when I'd hit 40. And it was the big 40 that was more important than the number of years I'd been traveling. I'd worked out my 20s, I'd worked out my 30s, now I was in my 40s. So that's why I was at the particular stage I was. What I forgot was that I'd actually waited after putting things together. I still waited an additional 2 years so that I could reap the rewards of 10 years traveling. That was the idea anyway. And something else that we need to mention, because the whole point of me making sure that my logo is as good as possible right now is the fact that I'm going to be offering my logo services on places like Fiverr.com and everywhere else. So I've got to make sure that I'm practicing what I'm preaching. So yeah, I'm sorting out the evolution of my logo. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do it on a more regular basis every 6 months to 1 year. Just tweak it a little bit so that we're always bringing it into the correct decade. Colors are also interesting too. Just because you've got a couple of colors in your logo, it doesn't mean you should leave it at that. You should have a list of all of your complementary colors. Now, when you're designing a logo, it's all about suitability. Suitability is paramount. It's not about what you want the logo to represent. It's also, is it suitable? You've got to have the right fonts. There's no way you would have that kiddie, sans comic-y, sheriff type logo for a solicitor's firm. And there's no way you would have Times New Roman for a kindergarten. Yeah, so you've got to make sure the look and feel is there already. And there are certain colors as well that evoke certain types of emotion. So it's quite important to make sure you get the colors right. In actual fact, I'm probably going to be doing a video just on colors. There was a very famous guy who worked out contrasting colors, complementary colors. And if you just go and have a look at, should we say, the Vogue magazine as to what colors are supposed to be in for this year, they will have proper Pantone colors and everything else. I always look at those at the right time of the year, just for curiosity, a bit of fun. And you'll be surprised how often those colors usually end up in my work. And on my wall, have a look. These are some of the logos that I've been working on in the last year or so. These are the ones that I like, because at the end of the day, you've got to like what you're doing. This one, it's obvious, Purple House. This one was for a care facility, and the heart just gives it that caring feel. Yellow Chimp was something we put together that's going to be used for a smartphone app, so it had to be scalable, and that's why the monkey's face takes precedence. WWD, that is mine. The inspiration for this, by the way, the original inspiration was the old Wheeler Dealer logo. I wanted something that looked like the badge that goes on the back of a car. And slowly but surely, we ended up with this. And that's why we have what looks like the back of a car as part of the intro. And most of the other ones are logos that I've put together for projects that I'm on. Not necessarily because I spent more time on them or that because they are better, but because I don't have to worry about asking permission as to whether I can use them. So here we are. We had a little video that goes into the importance of how logos have got to evolve because it's a visual representation of what you do. I hope you find that of interest, and thank you for listening.